The Civil Rights Movement. Rights and Responsibilities of a Freedom Movement by Shante Robinson
and Naomi Robinson. After the Civil War, Reconstruction was composed to help bring order in the South and to recognize blacks not only as slaves, but citizens as well. In the process of Reconstruction, white farm owners established a sharecropping system to allow farmers to own land, but the black owners had to give a portion of the crops back to white owners.
The 14th and 15th Amendments states that African Americans were considered citizens and no laws should be made to deny them the right of liberty to own property and to vote. But even though they were established, the South contained harsh laws that contradicted the amendments, known as the Jim Crow laws. The Jim Crow laws proved that the amendments did not work because the government did not enforce and stop them from deteriorating the lives of African Americans and even whites who tried to help.
One time we drove down and I said, well, I'm just going to go in the colored bathroom. I'm going to go to the bathroom, the colored bathroom. I wasn't trying to make a statement. There was no press. It was like, I walk in there, and they don't take care of it. The white bathrooms were well cleaned, disinfected, toilet paper, all that. You go in the black bathroom. It wasn't until the blacks were messy. They didn't care. They didn't keep it up. The gas station owner or the restaurant owners would not take care of it. So basically, you were going. So it wasn't the greatest bathroom to go in. As soon as I got in there, as I turned around to get out, there was a guy with a rifle in my face who owned the place, and he was swearing at me, telling me to get that out of.
Presence of the Jim Crow laws were to enforce segregation in the Deep South between whites and blacks. These laws made African Americans feel like second-class citizens, rather than citizens at all, because they were denied the right to vote, to have a job, or to have an equal education.
During the 1950s, the Civil Rights Movement was created that consisted of both white and black members who opposed the Jim Crow laws and strived to create equality. The members included activists who used violence and nonviolence to direct their message.
Malcolm X's method of the Civil Rights Movement was to use separatism against the whites because he felt the two races needed to be apart to be equal. His mentor was the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and believed that black power consisted of acting to protect themselves against the whites.
Of violence.
No, the black people in this country have been the victims of violence at the hands of the white man for 400 years. And following the ignorant Negro preachers, we have thought that it was godlike to turn the other cheek to the brute that was brutalizing us. And today, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is showing black people in this country that just as the white man and every other person on this earth has God-given rights, natural rights, civil rights, any kind of rights that you can think of when it comes to defending himself, black people we should have the right to defend ourselves also. And because the Honorable Elijah Muhammad makes black people brave enough, men enough to defend ourselves no matter what the odds are, the white man runs around here with the doctrine that Mr. Muhammad is advocating violence when he's actually telling Negroes to defend themselves against violent people.
Martin Luther King Jr.'s method was to use nonviolence, and it was much more effective because it promoted unity between blacks and whites. His mentor was Gandhi, who persuaded him to use nonviolence the same way he did while trying to fight for human rights in India.
Well, I should say that this doesn't come overnight. The nonviolent way does not bring about miracles in a few hours, in a few days, in a few years for that matter. I think at first, the first reaction of the oppressor when oppressed people rise up against the system of injustice is an attitude of bitterness. But I do believe that if the nonviolent resistors continue to follow the way of nonviolence, they eventually get over to the hearts and souls of the former oppressors. And I think it eventually brings about that redemption that we dream of. Of course, I can't estimate how many people we've touched so far. This is impossible because it's an inner process. But I'm sure something is stirring in the minds and the souls of people, and I'm sure that many people are thinking anew on this basic problem.
Not too proud of the violence I did, because I only did that. I made just what somebody said true. So I think nonviolence is the way, but not to the point of allowing somebody to harm you.
In September of 1963, 4 young girls are killed at 16th Street Baptist Church in a bomb explosion in Birmingham, Alabama by the KKK. In August of 1955, a 14-year-old boy, Emmett Till, is murdered in Mississippi for whistling at a white woman. In June of 1964, 3 civil rights activists, James Chaney, Andrew Goodman, and Michael Schwerner, were shot by the KKK while attempting to get African Americans to register to vote.
While these events were horrific, nonviolence was a form of resilience against the violent actions that were assessed during the civil rights movement. Rosa Parks made it clear that she was not going to give up her seat on the bus to a white person, and she sparked the bus boycott in Montgomery, Alabama in 1955, 4 days after Rosa Parks was arrested for refusing to give up her seat.
The Freedom Riders were a group of college students, both black and white, who organized a bus route through the Deep South to test the Jim Crow laws by being seen in public places together. They felt that it was their responsibility to react against violence with peace organizations, protests, sit-ins, and many other ways to persuade the nation for equal rights. They endured harsh violence and many beatings, but that did not stop them from riding. The Freedom Riders, more importantly, did not back down from all the violence they were being tormented with while on their journey through the South.
Segregation must be stopped. It must be broken down. Those of us who are on the Freedom Ride, who will continue the Freedom Ride, I'm not sure that I'll be able to, but we're going on to New Orleans, no matter what happens. We're dedicated to this. We'll take hitting, we'll take beating. We're willing to accept death. But we're going to keep coming until we can ride from anywhere in the South to any place else in the South without anybody making any comments, just as American citizens.
Thurgood Marshall became the first African American justice and helped win cases, most famously the Brown v. Board of Education case against the Supreme Court that desegregated all public schools in the U.S. This paved the way for 9 African American high school students, known as the Little Rock Nine, to integrate an all-white Central High School with the help of federal troops and the National Guard in September of 1957. Eventually, nonviolence revealed several civil rights acts to help improve the equality among blacks and whites over the course of many years. This included the Voting Rights Act of 1965 to make it easier for Southern blacks to vote.
I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. I have a dream that one day on the red hills of Georgia, sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners will they be able to sit down together at the table of brotherhood. I have a dream. My 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today.
Because of the civil rights movement and the fight for equality, Barack Obama became the first African American president of the United States on November 4th of 2008. This proves that nonviolent actions led to the creation of equal citizens fighting for the same American dream.